Welcome into the Plains Truth, and here with Auburn offensive line coach Jake Thornton. Jake, appreciate you being here. It's been a whirlwind. Wouldn't even begin to describe what it's been like. But what the first, 19 months or so been like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, my wife and I, we love Auburn. The community has really embraced us. We always heard great things about Auburn, just with people that in our profession that had been there, and then family, friends that had ties here to Auburn. But when we got here, we didn't realize the magnitude of what that was. But just the community as a whole, our church community at ACC, our son who was in preschool last year, his preschool teachers, I mean, just that whole community has been incredible. Our neighborhoods that we've lived in, just absolutely our favorite place we've ever lived. And that's what makes it so easy to me to recruit to Auburn, is because of the people of Auburn and the community of Auburn. Because when we tell guys this is the best college town in the country, I truly mean that. And I've lived in 3 or 4 of them now that have been really good, and this is by far the best one. So even though it was a big move for us, it has been the easiest transition. It's been the best transition in terms of that. Because we just love it so much and we want to be here. We find ourselves not wanting to leave to go to here for vacation or here to go there. We want to stay here and be in Auburn and enjoy the community. So it's been really good.
You mentioned that. How valuable is that when you're on the recruiting trail?
Yeah.
To genuinely go, hey, this is a great place to live. When you're talking to parents and you're doing, how valuable has that been for you?
Well, I mean, I pride myself and I always want to tell recruits and their parents and my current players the truth. I never want to tell them a lie, and so that, this is the first place I've been to where I can genuinely tell them that Auburn is a fantastic place to live. It's a safe place to live. It's a great place to go to school. So it makes the whole process much easier, because when I'm telling a family that, and they've never been to Auburn, I know when they get to Auburn, they're going to be like, yeah, that Coach Thornton, what he said was right, because I've never met anyone that has not liked Auburn and liked the community and liked the campus and the people. So it just makes it a lot easier to really get your foot in the door. And then when you get them here, we believe if we can get families here multiple times, we feel like we got a great chance to land them because of how great Auburn is as a whole.
Yeah, and you had opportunity to sell when you got here. We've talked about it for years before you guys came in, that the O-line group was one that was lacking. Yeah. And for you coming into it, you knew, hey, we got to have numbers and we got to have guys. What was that process like when you first walk in the door?
Yeah, I mean, when I first got here, Coach Freeze obviously I had played Auburn, so I kind of knew a little bit of the depth chart and kind of the people already in place. And recruiting against Auburn, when I was at my previous job at Ole Miss, recruiting against Auburn, I knew some of the players they had got. And so I kind of had a little bit of familiarity with what the situation was. And then when I got here, Coach Freeze did a great job of laying it out to me and being crystal clear on what exactly he thought we needed, and who they kind of had, what Auburn had relationship-wise with, the recruit still out there. And Coach did a great job of setting, like when I first got here, the very first thing we did was go see Connor Lew. Like Coach Freeze had already had that set up. Yeah. So Coach Freeze made my job early in the process a lot easier because of the clarity and the plan that he had in place for the O-line. But coming into it, I knew it was going to be a challenge, but this is Auburn, and I've always felt that way about Auburn. Growing up in Georgia and being right in the heart of SEC country growing up, Auburn is such a national brand, and this is a great place for what O-linemen, they should like it here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I just felt like this was a good place to come, and recruiting is not easy, but I feel like it's easier when you're at a great place that you think that, the style of player that you're looking for would like to be here. And so although it was a grind and it was tough, we just had to be very strategic, and we had to think outside the box when we first got here. Yeah. Because you can sign 7 high school guys, but not all those guys are going to be able to play as freshmen. And so we signed a couple high school guys that we really liked with Connor Lew, who we thought Connor could play early. We didn't know when. And so everything he did as a freshman, we felt like that was going to happen, and he played on a much larger scale and did a great job. We signed guys like Tyler Johnson, who we knew in the future could really help us grow. And Tyler's growth over the last year, he's been here for 1 year, and his growth has been off the charts. So that was kind of the plan. And then we just had to go and dip into the portal and figure out. We wanted older guys that we knew could come in and play immediately, that had played a ton of football. And then we wanted to dip into the junior college ranks too and get a guy like Tutal, who I believed in because I had him was recruiting him at Ole Miss, had him committed at Ole Miss, and so we felt like, adding that mixture of guys, would be really good for the room. What I didn't take into effect was we took all those personalities. We took Gunnar Britton from Western Kentucky, Avery Jones from East Carolina. Okay, then we take Tutal coming in, right? We take all these transfers and all these junior college guys and high school guys, and we throw them into a room with guys who were established Auburn guys, and you don't know how that's going to work out. Yeah. And that is where I tell people Auburn took over. Coach Freeze's culture took over. The way that Coach Freeze runs the program, player first, that's where that room really blossomed, because we threw them in there, and within 2 weeks, you felt like you were with a bunch of guys who have been with each other for years. And that is a testament to Coach Freeze and the program he runs, and Auburn as a community as a whole. So,
what's when you get through that first year, and you go, okay, now you take a deep breath, a little one, and you start back over and going, okay, is it almost the same build, or is it you're kind of adding on a little bit because you get Dylan Wade back and you get some guys back, Connor Lou's returning, but you still need a few pieces. Is it a little bit similar, but on a smaller scale in year, heading into year number 2?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the same thought process, but on a much smaller scale to it. That's one thing that in that whole deal we wanted to kind of build depth. So like taking a guy like D Wade, in year 1 that had 2 years left, we knew we could probably build with him for 2 years. And then obviously Connor Lou being a freshman. So we wanted to try to create some depth, and that's why we ended up taking Dylan Senda so late during fall, right when fall camp started, because it was an opportunity to grab a player that we know can build into something really good. We knew he wasn't going to be a major factor year 1, but we knew going into the future he could be a big piece for us. At any one of those interior 3 spots. So for us, we tried to be strategic in building depth while also creating depth to win right now. And so going into year 2, it's been very similar. We've had some surprises in the room, that guys that have really done a good job of developing themselves, transforming their bodies. And that's a testament to Coach Dom and Miss Danielle, Strength and Nutrition. I think they're the best in the country, and they've done a great job of transforming these guys' bodies and their minds when it comes to competing, and then when it comes to nutrition and getting their bodies ready to go. So we've added guys that we thought maybe would be 2-3 years down the road, depth guys, have now become big-time factors in our depth chart. And that's a really good thing, because now you got young competition in there where you could have guys winning jobs that could maybe solidify a job for 3 years. And that's huge in our world of football at this level, because it's all about continuity. And so that's, that was big for us. But going into year 2, we knew we wanted to add an older tackle because we had some really young dudes in there that were talented. So we went and got Percy, another guy that I was familiar with from his junior college time, and he's done a great job for us. But I think just it allowed us to take a breath and kind of figure out exactly what we need, create some depth while also bringing in competition to be able to, because competition is the catalyst for everything. If you don't have competition, you're going to be stagnant. And so we wanted to make sure we had healthy competition with the 1s, 2s, and 3s. And so that's something that we've really tried to build, because the more competition you have, people are going to rise to the occasion, and that's what pushes. The most successful O-line I've coached in 2022, my unit at Ole Miss, going into that second year, we just created a bunch of competition and threw guys in there, and people rose, and that's what really elevated us to be able to have a good year up front, and I believe that's what's going to happen for us here in year 2. That's probably the one thing we were missing in year 1 was just great competition. We had players, we had our guys that we really thought could help us go win and did, but we were missing that competition factor. And so I think this year we now have that, and it's really shown up during spring practice and through the summer.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about this coming line in a second, but you talked about kind of adding those pieces that had a couple of years and you've created kind of the stairs in terms of years on an offensive line. And I know we can't talk specifics, but it's allowed you to then recruit high school guys and to then build, because you like continuity. How important has that been to then be able to dip into the high school ranks and go, now we want the guys to be able to build for the future on an offensive line?
I mean, I can't put that into words, because that's what we want to do here at Auburn, and that is why I came to Auburn. The best thing about college football to me as an O-line coach is recruiting a guy out of high school, putting him into your system and watching him develop over the 3, 4, 5 years you got him, and then helping him go and achieve whatever it is in life. Hopefully it's the NFL, but it might be something different. But just watching that guy grow. And that is why I came to Auburn, is because I believed in Coach Freeze when me and him were talking about the job, and he told me I want to build this thing off of high school players. That is why I jumped at the opportunity, because that's why I got into college coaching, was to help high school guys develop and give them an opportunity to achieve their goals. And so allowing us to go and recruit high school players, that's the best thing in the world, because it gives us a chance to find the guys that we really want, that fit what we want to do here at Auburn from an offensive standpoint, from an O-line standpoint, from a culture standpoint. And it's really given us the freedom to go and be able to go attack it. And, all the credit in the world to obviously Coach Freeze and our culture, but the people in this building too that have put in a lot of time and effort to help me get this O-line, to where we're not where we want to be. And that's something that I've always said, and our guys believe this too. We're not going to be where we want to be until we win a championship. That's what we want to go do. So although we are in the right direction, our guys are hungry. They're fighting every day. They're competing every day because they want to go win that championship. That is our goal. We want to bring a championship back to Auburn and then bring this program back to what it should be, which is a championship program. But it's definitely given us the freedom to go and be able to recruit the guys we want to recruit and go pursue the guys we want to pursue. Yeah,
you talked about competition, and this is the first time in a long time Auburn has really had that on an offensive line. I mean, it's been a decade almost. And you talked about the guys, whether it be Connor Lew, Dylan Wade, Jeremiah Wright inside, who have some experience, and then the tackle group you mentioned, you got some credit. But then Raiden Joyner and E.J. Harris, some of those guys have pushed those other guys. That's exactly what you're talking about, and you've seen that growth from maybe year one even through the spring.
Yes, I mean, like you just named two guys right there that I'm probably as proud of them as anybody is, Raiden Joyner and E.J. Harris. Last year they were, they were scout team guys. They were working hard. They just weren't quite there yet, but they've really turned the corner. And that's something about O-line play that I think is lost right now is, there's a lot of positions on our team where you can recruit a young player and they can probably play as a young guy.
Yeah.
And every now and then you're going to find that guy on the O-line like Connor Lew that can come in and play year one. But throughout the course of college football, the history of college football, we've got freshman O-linemen, they redshirt as freshmen. Mm-hmm. And then as redshirt freshmen, they're probably still on the scout team. Yes. Then by year 3, they become two-deep factors. Mm-hmm. And they're in that two-deep and they're pushing that competition. Well, that's exactly where E.J. Harris is. And that's something I try to encourage him and a number of guys on is like, you are exactly where you need to be. He's in year 3. He is competing for a job. He's solidified himself in the two-deep. Like, he's working his butt off. And so I'm really proud of that. He's exactly where he needs to be. Raiden Joyner's the same way. He came in here. Things didn't go his way as a true freshman, but he redshirted. He paid his dues on scout team. He competed his butt off, and now he's making himself a factor. And that's exactly what we want and what we need. And Tyler Johnson's the same way. I mean, that is what has been so key is those young guys not growing impatient with, well, I'm not playing right now. Yeah. I'm going to go do what I got to do. They have stayed and they've bought into Coach Freeze and his program and what he's preaching and what we as coaches preach to them about family and our player of buying into the classroom and holding yourself accountable off the field. They've bought into that, and that is why they're being successful. And we've found that on our team throughout every position, if they fully buy into what Coach Freeze and our coaches are, what we are preaching, then they usually turn out to be what we want them to be and what they want to be. So
in this day and age, that's not the plan at a lot of places. Do you think though that that's going to end up being a huge positive because you're preaching something not a lot of people are doing? A lot of people are going, hey, well, if you ain't playing early, you're gone, and you're preaching, be part of it, help us grow, and you grow along in the process, and especially on the offensive line, that has to be really valuable.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to run a program and a bunch of different ways to recruit, and some people find success with the transfer portal, and that's great. That's their way of doing it. There's nothing wrong, right or wrong with that. Mm-hmm. The way that we want to do it is we've obviously had to mix in transfer portal guys to help fill in spots, but we want to build it on high school guys. And I think, long term, we should have, as long as we stay intact, we should have depth every year on the offensive line if we continue to add quality guys through the high school ranks. That's where my job as a developer comes into play, because I also think O-line recruiting, Aaron Pittard, who I owe a lot of gratitude to him because he's helped me through this whole process just as much as anybody with helping me evaluate, helping me identify, helping me stay right-minded when it comes to recruiting and the evaluation process. He is going to be a superstar in this profession. He always shows me the data from NFL drafts. Every year there's 3-star O-linemen getting drafted in the first, second mm-hmm. round because it is a developmental position. Yes. And so that's why we want to look at the traits that we want, and we do not care what star ranking they are and all that. If they're a 5-star, awesome, that's great. Great for them, great for the recruiting process. But for us, it's about getting them there and developing. Do they have those traits that when they get here they can grow as a player, and do they fit our culture? And if they have the traits and they fit in our culture, they're going to be a successful football player. And so that's where the high school, kind of building it through high school, allows us to create continuity so that I'm coaching, they're hearing the same voice, and they are the same people that we're coaching from spring practice to spring practice, from fall camp to fall camp. And I think that's why we've seen growth in some of the younger players, because they've done a great job of buying in, and they're hearing the same coaching every day from Coach Freeze mm-hmm. And from me. And so now they're able to go out, and there's some continuity in the building, so with players and coaches.
Yeah, getting through spring, obviously summertime is an important term with guys to work on things and to continue to work on their bodies. But where do you feel like the offensive line is heading into year 2? Yeah,
I think we're heading in the right direction. We're a work in progress, as every O-line and every position group in college football should be. I think we got a chance to be good, but we got to work every single day. Like we talked about, there's a lot of competition in there. There's a lot of talent in there, but they are working really, really hard. They're pushing themselves. There's a lot of player-led accountability, player-led leadership, which is probably the biggest jump I've seen in my room last year. Had a lot of player-led leadership, and it really came from Cam Stutz and Gunnar Britton. They were the two guys that, Cam was the Auburn man, the guy who'd been there forever. Yeah, and one of my favorite players of all time, and love that man. He is exactly what you want an Auburn football player to be. Him and Gunnar did a great job of leading the group. Now it's turned into, instead of only having maybe 2 guys, there's 6, 7 guys that are pushing the envelope and pushing that leadership and accountability. And that's fun as a coach, because it's fun for me because I can go out there and really coach football right now. Still hold them to the standard, still hold them accountable, but they're really doing that for themselves. And I'm proud of that, because that's going to help us as an entire football team. And I'm sure every position coach probably has their own story with that. But if our team can continue to head in the right direction with that, we're going to be in good shape. So,
well, Jake, we appreciate you joining us and this sit down, and hope you guys enjoyed it.
War Eagle.